In 1994, Yvette and I moved to Benalto, where we were very fortunate to have a home and an old church for a studio. This was a wonderful opportunity for us to take a new step in our lives, really. As we began to study the space between the two buildings, was essentially empty. There was nothing in it except some old trees on the periphery. Yvette began to play with creating flower beds and experimenting with different plants, shrubs, flowers, and she would be quick to admit she's never claimed herself to be a gardener, but she is. She's quite brilliant at it. She has a natural ability, and she loves being in the garden. So my enthusiasm for being in the garden is just following her work, really, and trying. And as the garden evolved over the years, so many changes took place, and it still does. Well, a garden is something else. It's like a work of art, but it's got its own spirit. And one of the beauties of growing up in Red Deer as a kid, I had this wonderful garden to play in as a sanctuary, but about a block away there was a forest surrounding the downtown. I mean, real forest, you know. I get lost, but I loved going in. There were pathways and all these secret places, and you'd go in there, these massive trees. It's where I feel at home in the forest, walking through the woods. It doesn't have to be a deep, dark forest. It just has to be trees. There's that wonderful transition time between the arrival of light and the dissipation of light. When things compress again, they lose their shape and their form, and they start to fuse together. Space gets lost, and it becomes more atmospheric. And I wanted to see if I could portray that in painting. So you notice that the tones are very similar in a lot of the infusion pieces. It's not a harsh time, it's about a soft time. What happens when you sort of lose your sense of space and where you are? What does it do to you? But it makes you sort of reevaluate your place. When you first go into a forest that's suffering from acid rain, you're just sort of walking through the forest. You're not really aware of it, and then you suddenly realize that there's a lot more dead stuff than you remembered. That was how it was. Having been there 10 years earlier, going back to some of my favorite spots, what happened? You know, how did this happen? What's going on? And I began to talk to a couple of Yvette's cousins who are forest rangers, and they said, acid rain. I'm not really good at shouting. I'm not very big. I can't punch anybody. How do I say something as an artist? Over the course of the next year and a bit, I did 36 mid-sized to large canvases, and exhibited them in Banff first, and then they toured for 2.5 years across Canada. And that was my hope, was to get the message out. I've been working on a series of paintings of people on the beach at Sylvan Lake. I have 6 of them completed. I'm working on the final piece. There's going to be 7 total. And I have a garden ceremony piece that's been haunting me from our India trip for, it's 27 years now. And I'm just about ready to deal with it. First, I got to do a big study, a big drawing, and try and figure out how I'm going to. It's a really weird moment, but it's one of those impactful moments on our trip that it's like this mystical moment, and I just have to deal with it. You know? I've been saving it. I've been afraid of it, I think.